You guys know the drill. Welcome back to the class, everyone. We have yet another Lightspeed bundle just about to hit. And while we did just do an entire video taking all the Lightspeed bundles and comparing their value, showing how they've been getting slowly worse and worse over time, we do need to take a minute to look at where this overall pack's value lies and see where it's going to land. So the pack is not currently available in game, or at least it's not at the time that we're recording this, but it should be in a couple of days. But this is what it's going to look like. We have these four characters again circling around the Hoth territory battle at Relic 5 for $24.99 without including any discounts. And overall, this is kind of looking like an okay deal when it comes to a normal pack, because realistically, it's not normal just to have characters sitting in the store for $20 that you can have all the way up to Relic 5. That being said, the people who have been getting the Lightspeed bundles consistently have been used to a different set of value. And we'll go into that here in a second when we can actually compare this with the other packs. But a few things that I want to address. I do realize that Rolo, Womp, and IPD are special characters in the sense that you can't farm them on a normal node. That being said, not too long ago, they were all moved into the raid currency store to be purchased with Mark II raid currency, which quite frankly is not all that hard to obtain. You don't have to be doing the newest, latest, and greatest raid and have all the Relic 9s to be able to get that currency. You can get it from doing a multitude of raids which are available for a wide array of players. So the characters themselves, while they appear restricted similar to Kiadimundi, they're really not. You can get them, they're very accessible. They might take some time, just like farming any other character, but the opportunity cost isn't so large to the fact that you would have to be buying them or something else with the currency with crystals. Ultimately, we're not going to be factoring that into their overall value, and we're going to be focusing on the more normal things like how many Chirotechs did you have to use to get them to Gear 13, and how much signal data were you required to use to get them all the way up to Relic 5. So speaking of that exact data, let's go ahead and pull it up here, and we will be comparing it with some of the previous packs so you can have a little bit of an idea where this one stands. But again, what we've done here is we've taken all the Chirotechs that you would essentially be getting if you were to get this pack, assuming you don't have any of the characters leveled up. You would get 100 Chirotech per character because each one gets that at, or needs that at Gear 13, which would amount to about 11,000 crystals. You can kind of see how we broke down the math here. We just take this number and times by 28, which is how much a Chirotech costs to buy it out of the store. And then we did the same exact thing with signal data, showing that it costs about 11,000 crystals worth of signal data if you were to purchase it out of the store rather than farming it, which amounts to about $73. We find these dollars by calculating the crystal vault into the equation to show if you were to buy a crystal vault, which is kind of the most conservative way to do it, this is how much it would cost you, meaning that the overall value of the pack, if you were to buy the largest bottlenecks for these characters, it would cost you about $144, meaning at the price point of $24.99, it is roughly 6 times better. And while from a bird's eye view, this does kind of look good because 6 times better is incredible, when we start to look at what Lightspeed bundles have been, it's actually pretty bad. And by pretty bad, I mean this is arguably the worst Lightspeed bundle we have seen thus far. When we start to compare it to some of the previous packs like Kiadimundi, Junk Jedi, Padme, and SLKR, it just doesn't really stack up. And I'm not really cherry picking packs, by the way. I just wanted to pick one from kind of each time zone to show you where we've been at. The Kiadimundi pack, while it did only offer you one character, it offered you a character that was incredibly hard to farm because it can only be achieved through one area, which is not only really lengthy, but the opportunity cost in Cairo is enormous, and you would be able to get over 2,000 Chirotech if you were just to have immediately taken to Relic 5. That is showed in the spreadsheet here. And even when you compare it to the Junk Jedi pack that we got not too long ago, that for the raid was actually really nice because Luminar and Kit Fisto are very important for the raid. Even that pack, not only was it cheaper by $5, but you also got an entire extra character out of it. So with the characters being at the same relic levels, we see a very obvious step down. And then it's really unfair to even compare it to like the Padme or the SLKR or the BAM or all the other packs that have kind of come before it that have had, as you can see here with the SLKR pack, 43 times better value, just because I feel like they were really testing the waters of the Lightspeed bundles when those first came out, and they were just going completely all out. And on top of all that, even when we take into account all the math that is here, there's some other things that we also need to take into account. And really one specific thing is that, and I don't mean to hate on the character, but man, IPD just really isn't needed. When we look at these 4 characters, like, one of the other things that we need to take into account is not just the resources that get put into them, but what is the character actually going to output? And with Captain Han and Rolo, it's actually pretty obvious. Not only are they required for Giant Luke, who is then required for several other Galactic Legends, but they're required for Leia at the Relic 5 level, meaning if you were at one point going to go for Leia, then you would have to have those 2 characters, regardless of the fact that they aren't very good, despite kind of what Rolo is doing right now versus certain teams. And then Wampa, obviously a fantastic character, very specifically for GAC, offering a lot of value there. And I really wouldn't argue against R5 Wampa. I mean, people should probably be taking him higher if they're able, just because he's a one-man team, and, you know, 7 relics on one character is better than 20 relics on another team. But the problem really comes down to IPD. And I don't necessarily hate IPD. I've actually been using him a little bit more recently with the support datacron under Afra, but man, he is optional. You do not need him to have the best Afra team in the world. There are plenty of other substitutes. And beyond that, a lot of players out there don't even have Afra, because she's a much more newer and premium character than compared to IPD, who people might be getting through a different method. So I don't know. It's really hard for me to look at the overall math here and see that not only are we losing from an overall value perspective compared to the other packs, and granted, some of the other packs did have kind of bad characters that really weren't going to go very far, Hoth being a pretty prime example from Junk Jedi, and then I believe even in the Thrawn Emperor Palpatine, they included like Farm Boy Luke, which, why? Like, anyways, just wasn't needed. So that's not that strange to see when it comes to the overall considerations. But I don't know. A lot of the other Lightspeed bundles were just doing so many other things. Again, Ki-Adi-Mundi was an incredibly rare character. The Junk Jedi was giving people Jedi that they didn't have specifically for the raid. The gas pack was giving a lot of ships, including Negotiator, which was a huge opportunity cost when it comes to using your Get 2 for Kyrotech. So overall, I don't know. I'm just not super impressed from a Lightspeed bundle perspective. And I do want to make that clear, because overall, for a lot of players out there, especially if you're very on the smaller side, maybe just starting out and wanting to take a look at things, the pack actually isn't that atrocious when you start to compare it to other relative value in game, especially relative monetary value. And what I mean by that is when we actually look up, this is really interesting. I ran into this when I was preparing this video. When we actually look up Captain Han Solo, where you can farm him, he's farmed on a cantina. No, that's not really important. But right over here, there is this other Hoth bundle pack. This is not the same pack, by the way. When you look at it, it costs $25, the exact same amount. And look at what is in here, which I guess you guys can't really do because my face is in the way, but let's go ahead and fix that just temporarily here. You can see that for the same exact price point, you get 30 Rolo shards, 40 Captain Han, and 20 Wampa, and not an ounce of Kyrotech or signal data. So is it a true statement that this pack overall does not stack up well to the other Lightspeed bundles? Yeah, that's probably true. It intrinsically has less value, and 1/4 of the characters are arguably just overkill and not necessarily needed. But at the same time, man, if you buy stuff regularly in this game, like this Hoth bundle pack, just to kind of get ahead and get an edge for 20 bucks here and there, it's still good. It's still really hard to fight the fact that you're getting 3 characters that arguably you might need at some point, or will need at some point if you want to progress far in the game with things like Jedi Knight Luke and Leia. But yeah, that's just kind of where it stands. I feel like we needed to give a little bit more perspective to the pack, even despite the fact that it is, from a value perspective, overall the worst we have seen. So thank you guys for watching. Hope this shed some light on the situation. Until the next time, stay awesome.